Hello, Shaker community. I'm Dr. JeffriAnne Wilder, and welcome to our latest installment of Equity Unscripted. Today, I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming Mrs. Holly Coughlin to our conversation. Holly is the executive director of our Shaker Foundation. So welcome, Holly, to Equity Unscripted.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to join you.
Well, let's just get right to it. So I know our listeners pay attention and tune in because they are interested in really interesting conversations around equity and what's happening in the Shaker community and in the district. And so let's start this first. I'm going to tee up the first conversation connected to a really popular meme that's going around lately. So I don't know if you've seen anything on social media around people posting two pictures, how it started and how it's going. I don't know if you've seen that at all, where people post a picture about how something started, whether it's a relationship or a job or whatever, compared to how it's going. So I will pose this first question to you around that. You've been in the district leading our foundation for just over 4 years. So why don't you give us a how it started versus a how it's going? How have these past 4 years gone in the district? And tell us about how you've seen your vision through the foundation over these past 4 years.
I would be happy to. I think when I walked in the door here, first of all, my kids went through the schools, my niece and nephew. I'm thrilled to represent the mission, to be an advocate for the mission. And because I've lived in Shaker for decades, and because I was in the PTO and sat on those baseball benches, I really understood the community, the culture, and I also had some ideas on how the foundation could grow to have more impact. And really, I think it really was about bigger projects, and starting new projects. And I think those are the things that we've been able to do in the last 4 years, is just think bigger. And we can only do that because of our donors, because people who graduated from Shaker schools, because of parents, because of corporate relations. It's all those people that make it possible, definitely.
Well, so I've been in my role for, believe it or not, 6 months. And I have to say, you are my absolute favorite person to work with in the district. We spend a lot of time together collaborating on things. And to most people, that may seem not necessarily odd, but like, let's help our listeners understand that connection. What is the natural synergy between the Shaker Foundation and DEI?
Well, we fill gaps. We provide extra beyond what our tax dollars cover. And, I have said to Dr. Glassner more than once, before you got here, Dr. Wilder, I don't know what I did with myself, because I had the opportunity to collaborate and work on projects. But we know projects and initiatives like the MAC Scholars, like SCORE, they have been here for decades. They've made a difference. And we also know, because of your leadership, because of the role you play, things can grow and be much bigger. Also, we know that career pathways is an important opportunity that has not been explored as much as we might have. So it's really amplifying some of these great programs, and also, but really growing some of these great projects. And some of what our high school principal, Eric Julie, is talking about is more things around doing and hands-on. And all of those things are giving every student skills to go out into the workforce. Not every student's a good textbook learner. So we need to be able to provide them the opportunity to grow and to learn and to do. And that really is an equity opportunity as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I think in thinking about all the projects and initiatives that I've been working on thus far, there really is that natural synergy between DEI work and foundation work because, to your point, our role is to bridge the gap and to continue to create really great pathways and and that's really, that's really kind of the whole point of equity, to ensure that, all students have the same access, same opportunity, equitable opportunities. And I view the foundation as a great tool and a pathway forward in order for us to accomplish that goal. So I know that I think it's every year. The foundation has a particular focus or a campaign. And this year, or just recently, the foundation has launched the Educational Equity Fund, which focuses on equity. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Educational Equity Fund and its promise for the district?
Certainly. But first of all, our foundation trustees believe in this work so much that they have allocated $50,000 from our reserves, if you will, to launch this fund. So I think that really shares how much we believe in this work. Our priorities mirror the district's, and that $50,000 is great leverage to raise more funds. Some of the first projects are going to be around student opportunity support. One of the things that one of the teachers told us, Brittany Webb, is that she has students at Woodbury that would love to go to a STEM camp over the summer, would love to go to a writing clinic, after school. So not every one of our students has financial capacity. So the Equity Fund will be a really great help to make sure our students get these enrichments or enhancements beyond what the schools are providing. And that's just one example.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited about it. And, we had a conversation recently with the Shaker board around our recent work connected to detracking. And we talked through the latest district-wide implementation efforts as we launched that work. And part of that conversation, you talked through a wide variety of sort of newly started, newly founded projects that are focused on equity. And one of the things you talked about in that conversation was really important that I'd like to kind of lift up here, is that when you think about equity, of course, racial equity is vitally important to our progress in the district, but it's also important to think through the other aspects of intersectional equity that we don't necessarily think about as much. And then there are some programs and initiatives connected to that. Can you just give us a couple examples that speak to other kinds of equity?
When you think about, or you ask a student, an elementary student, to think, what does a scientist look like in their mind? They're going to think of a middle-aged white man. They don't see that it could be a woman of color. Or they don't even see it could be a woman, in all honesty. So what's great is we're partnering with the middle school around a girls' empowerment around STEM. There's a speaker series. There is a great Girls Who Code Club. And we're also working with some amazing high school students who are mentoring and also providing hands-on with their STEM Ambassador Club. So I think those are examples where we need to show the young women of Shaker Heights what's possible. What can they do to dream big? And they can be an engineer. They can be a doctor.
I love that. That's so important in thinking about advancing equity. And, I'm very passionate about the experience of young women and girls, and I love that initiative. Okay, so it's time for a fun question. You have a donor who is ready to write a check for $1 million
Oh,
to the district. What do we use that money for? What do we fund?
well, I will say it depends who you ask. I know the athletic department wants lights at the high school football field. Um, there's a couple things that have come up that if we could uh, wave a magic wand, we know that preschool is imperative for all kids. It lays that foundation. And preschool is really not funded in the state of Ohio. Um, so that would be an amazing way to really build the foundation for the future of all Shaker students, is a really robust pre-K program, preschool program, where there was a building, little chairs, and any student could come.
I love that. And that makes sense. I mean, the pathway to educational success starts, really from the womb. So thinking through funding a preschool and early childhood initiative would be fantastic. So just a couple more questions in our conversation. If there are folks listening who are perhaps younger and don't feel like they have $1 million to, offer up, how can they become a part of the giving culture in Shaker? I mean, if I had $10 a month to give, or even $100 over the course of a year, is that helpful for the foundation?
JeffriAnne, I am glad you asked that. No one has asked that question of me. And one of the things that we would encourage is, I would call them repetitive gifts. And $10 a month, and we really work with our reunion classes, our younger Shaker alumni, to do just that. If you're 25 years old, you might be able to afford $5 a month, but 25 years from now, you would be able to afford a much different number. So creating a culture of philanthropy is important. And honestly, we do that with our students. Woodbury Creating Change is a great example. The young ladies that started Desks for Success at the high school, Shaker schools, our teachers, they are really educating our kids to pay it forward, to give back to the community. And yes, a kindergarten parent who's just starting out, we can do that through our donation portal.
That's great. And I think for those folks who think, to your point, that they can't afford to give, right? I think, even the smallest gift helps, and that helps to really change the face of philanthropy, which of course is directly connected to equity.
That is, and we do rely on volunteers. I know in 2020 and the start of this year, volunteering looks very different. But even though we aren't holding in-person events, we're still holding virtual events, especially A Night for the Red and White. So we have parents and alumni securing silent auction gifts, helping us with raffle prizes. So, it's not always about giving money, it's giving of your time. You could be a speaker at one of our classes. You could offer an internship or a shadowing opportunity to one of our engineering students. So there's so many ways to give that really impacts our kids and their education.
So you just sort of teased a really big event that's coming up on Saturday, March 6th. And that's A Night for the Red and White. Can you tell us more about that event and why it's so important to our community?
It sort of has a life of its own. This will be its 29th year.
Wow.
It is. And the two moms who started it are, they're beyond alive and well. They're vibrant community members, KJ Montgomery and Freda Levinson. They have given such a gift of a legacy of philanthropy, of community support. This year, you can get dressed up, but we aren't going to see you from the waist down. You'll be on your couch. But it's still going to focus on student entertainment. It's still going to have student artwork. It's still going to have really important interviews from our students, from our teachers. So from 7:30 to 8 on March 6th, you'll get the pre-party with student music and entertainment. We have an hour program from 8 to 9. And then there'll be an after party where you can go into a breakout room, sort of with your neighborhood, with your reunion class. So we have lots of ways to connect, but it'll be a fun night, and we are raising money for the Educational Equity Fund.
Well, that is really, really exciting. Anything else you want our listeners to know about our work together or the foundation?
Yeah, I just sent a couple notes out today to gentlemen that work in your line of business. Dr. Burnley is in charge of the DEI, the University of Dayton, an alum. Kevin Clayton, who is the VP of DEI for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I shared with them the presentation that the SCORE and Max Scholar students gave recently at the board work session. And my final comment was, these kids are amazing. They've done so much to open our eyes, and there is so much work to do. So, our donors are going to help us do more, help more of our kids, not just the kids that are in the buildings today, but those kids that are going to come along over the next few years. So, we're 39 years old, the foundation. We were the first public schools foundation in the state of Ohio. So we're really proud of that legacy. So we will continue to do this work, and we want to continue to grow it every year. Thank you.
That's really great. I hadn't even known about that history, and I think exactly what you said speaks to the future of not only our students, but the future of our district. And I know by now people really understand why you are my absolute favorite person to work with in the district. So thank you so much, Holly. I really enjoyed our conversation today. And that is a wrap on our latest episode of Equity Unscripted with Mrs. Holly Coughlin. I'm Dr. JeffriAnne Wilder, and thank you all, and we'll see you again on our next episode.